Ladies and gentlemen, live from Lima Shenanigans of 1977 is Wednesday or Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for AEW Dynamite or Collision Event Center. And now here's the man that will bring you the happenings of AEW All Elite Wrestling action, Mr. Eric M. Lima. Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Lima Shenanigans, 1977, episode 2617 of the show. It is October the 19th, 2025, 12:40 a.m. That's right, I'm still up. Just finished watching AEW WrestleDream, and it's probably the most insane event I have ever seen. And it's especially the main event of the match. Holy Christmas! You know, you're talking about pulling out all the stops between. I got to get out. I'll get into it because this is nuts. It's a nutty main event. But let's start off with the tailgate brawl for like AEW Collision, like as a pre-show 8-man tag match. It's an 8-man tag match. Excuse me for just a second here. As I made predictions for the also. On Rant and Rave, I have also made predictions for the for WrestleDream, and like I said, it started off with an 8-man tag as Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly of the Paragon teaming up. I call them the Paragon of Conglomeration, or the Conglomeration of Paragon. Hey, COP, Conglomeration of Paragon. You know, if I were Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly, I would say, hey, why not? Why not? Here's my personal opinion. Roderick Strong may not be goofy or anything like that. Or he can be goofy, but, he's always yelling, Kyle, or something like that. But if you think about it, he likes to get serious. But I say that balances out the fun that, the rest of the conglomeration have. He balances that out. Hey, the conglomeration of Paragon. COP. Hey, he's got something here. So I take that to Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly. So what do you guys think of Conglomeration of Paragon? COP for short. We're citizens on patrol. Okay. Anyways, I'm such in a good mood. Anyways, against the death. Okay, it is Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly versus teaming up with the Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii, and Orange Cassidy as they went up against the Death Riders, the team of Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, and Pac. And the Death Riders ended up winning the match, and Maria Shafir did not stick around in their corner as she was going to help John Moxley get ready for that I Quit match. And the team of Eddie Kingston and Hook and whoever they teamed up with, and so we didn't predict who they're going to face, but I predicted that Kingston and Hook was going to beat them anyway. It's the front houses, Cole Carter and who the bleep is Griff Garrison. I always want to say that. And of course Eddie Kingston and Hook won, even though Jack Jameson got involved in the matchup. But LFI cut a promo on Kingston and Hook during the matchup, and then they check in after the matchup. We all know there was a tailgate party with Big Boom AJ and Big Justice until Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero interrupts and attacks Big Boom AJ and making Big Justice watch on. And meanwhile, women's tag action, Divine Vanity, that's the team of Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, went up against Willow Nightingale, another of my favorite ladies in AEW, and the lovely, the gorgeous, curvaceous Australian herself, Harley Cameron. And Cameron and Nightingale finally got their victory over Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. Also, it has been announced during WrestleDream that the AEW Women's Tag Team Championship bracket will be revealed. Who's going to be part of the match? Who knows? How many teams? Probably 8 teams. Who knows for sure? Jet Speed and FTR was main evented that tailgate brawl, but it ended up kicking off WrestleDream. Stokely Hathaway gets involved during the matchup. and FTR ends up picking up the victory. And meanwhile, and that's what I picked to win, FTR, because I knew Stokely Hathaway was going to get involved. I picked the team of Will Nightingale, Harley Cameron to win. So I was perfect in the pre-show, so to speak. And the match card went a little bit like this, as you know. First Tony Schiavone interviewed the widow of Luthez, and that would be Charlie Thez. That's her name. And first matchup on the card, where everybody's banned from ringside. First matchup, Jamie Hayter went one-on-one with Tekla. And I picked Tekla to win this matchup because I thought in the back of my mind, Julia Hart and Sky Blue were going to get involved, but I was not counting on everybody being banned from ringside. And Jamie Hayter ended up winning the match. That was the first one I got wrong in the main card. Then Queen Aminata comes to celebrate with Hayter as Hart and Sky Blue kind of watch from the entrance. We know we know Julia Hart and Sky Blue may enter the women's tag team tournament. We'll see what happens there. Then the $50,000, the $500,000 matchup between Jurassic Express and the Young Bucks. This was a heck of a matchup, and the Jurassic Express ended up winning the match with the $500,000. But then the rest of the Don Callis family, Josh Alexander, Mark Davis, and Lance Archer attacked the Jurassic Express after the matchup, but then Kenny Omega helps to even up the sides. And now this Tornado Trios matchup ends up being the number one contenders match for the AEW Trios Championships held by the Ops. More on them later. As the Hurt Syndicate went up against the Demand. The Demand that's Ricochet, Bishop Khan, Toyo Leona of the Gates of Agony, and Hurt Syndicate, obviously MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. The Hurt Syndicate ended up winning that matchup. Meanwhile, the TNT title on the line, Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe, with Don Callis joining on commentary, and Kyle Fletcher ended up retaining the championship. Okay. Then the women's title was on the line as Chris Statlander defends the title against Timeless Toni Storm in a rematch, and Statlander retains the title, but Toni Storm, being a good sportswoman that she is, hands the title over to Chris Statlander and gives her a big, big hug. And I thought that was really classy. Well, Toni Storm is a classy lady, and she is a classic lady. She is timeless. And always my respect for Toni Storm and my admiration for her will always be timeless. Awesome job, Toni Storm, but don't give up. Don't give up your dreams. Don't give up. But that's another match I got wrong, because I thought Toni Storm was going to get the title back for a fifth time, but unfortunately. So the two women's matches I got wrong so far. So both women's matches I got wrong. Others I was right on. I knew Kyle Fletcher was going to retain. I knew the Hurt Syndicate was going to win. And then Mercedes Moné interrupts Statlander's victory celebration, and the Frat House. It's good that the Frat House gets a pay-per-view opportunity. Why not turn the Frat House into like businessmen bodyguards for Mercedes Moné? Have her own stable. The Frat House was perfect. I was surprised Preston Vance won. With all those titles, and they were holding all her titles, and I thought it was a super cool idea. And then she tells Statlander to get out of the ring, issues the open challenge. Any champion out there willing to risk her belt against hers. And now she's 10 belts, Ultimo Moné. But then the lovely Mina Shirakawa, the Ring of Honor Interim Women's World Television Champion, decides to accept that challenge. And the match happened between Mina Shirakawa and Mercedes Moné. And now Mina Shirakawa has lost the title. Mercedes Moné is now the interim Ring of Honor Women's World Television Champion. Red Velvet better take advantage of this situation. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Mercedes Moné is now 11 belts. Moné. How many belts is this woman going to collect? Jeepers. But more on that situation later. And then Chris Statlander interrupts Monet's victory celebration like Monet did to Statlander, and then Statlander attacks Monet, but stands tall in the end. And tag team titles on the line is Brodito, the Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito, and Brody King, the tag champions, going up against the team of the AEW Unified Champion Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, and the brand newly minted IWGP World Heavyweight Championship Kingpin, the Alpha, Konosuke Takeshita. And heck of a matchup as John Callis rejoins them. He joins the trio of Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, and Nigel McGuinness. And Brodito ended up retaining the title after Kazuchika Okada accidentally hit Takeshita with the Rainmaker, but he starts laughing about it. And Don Callis went over to Okada, and then you see Takeshita. I think Takeshita's feeling that Don Callis is favoring Okada over Takeshita. We'll see what happens down the road. And Brodito decided to celebrate with the Macarena, which I never thought they would bring that dance back. Anyways, Renee Paquette interviewed Toni Storm, and Toni Storm was like kind of stunned, and then Mina Shirakawa walked over to next to her, kneeled down, because we lost everything, but we still have each other. Aww. And you know what? I think if they may have lost everything, I would have. If I was a manager, I would say, listen. If I was their wrestling manager, I'd say, listen, ladies, you have not lost at all. I'll see what I'm trying to get you in that women's tag team title tournament, and you can turn things around by getting the belts yourselves. That's what I would have said. So hopefully they'll be in the tournament. So, and I did pick Brodito to retain the titles, but I didn't. So I'm not counting the TBS title because that was an impromptu open challenge match. Oh, well, they announced it, but we don't know who. I didn't know who was going to accept it and why. Anyway, so Hangman Adam Page, Samoa Joe for the AEW World Title, and this was a heck of a matchup. Could have gone either way. Hangman Adam Page, after 3 buckshot lariats, retained the title. Samoa Joe then handed him the title, shook his hand, gave him a hug. And then Katsuyori Shibata and Powerhouse Hobbs ended up joining up with Samoa Joe to celebrate. But then Samoa Joe attacks Hangman Adam Page. He instructed Hobbs and Shibata to do the same. They started stomping, beating the crap out of him. They were holding him up. Samoa Joe's holding the belt, hits him with it, and walks away. And we find out that on Dynamite, the trio's title will be on the line in this matchup, as the Ops, with their newfangled attitude, goes up against the Hurt Syndicate, while the AEW Unified title will be on the line as Kazuchika Okada defends it against the Ring of Honor World Champion and one half of the World Tag Team Champions, Bandito. Also, like I said, the AEW Women's Tag Team Title Tournament bracket will be revealed. Who's in the tournament? We'll see what happens there. Then Mercedes Moné, going back to her, as addressed Chris Statlander, and she decided to issue a challenge for the World and Women's World Title at Full Gear. Should Mercedes Moné capture this world title, it'll be her 12th belt. She's going for the dozen. Does she have? Will she be known as, to me, the Duchess of Dozen Belts? That'll be an interesting situation if and when that actually happens. Then we're going to go with the most insane match on the card. By the way, listen, I picked Brodito to retain, so far, only got 2 matches wrong, picked wrong as both women's matches. I was writing count TBS title because I don't know who they were defending against, and I would have said something. And if it was Mercedes Moné against anybody, I would have picked Mercedes Moné to win. Anyways, Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley in an I Quit match. This match, possibly the most insane match ever. And then in the pre-show, watched a little bit of it, Renee Paquette's frustrated with her husband. Because she's got to realize that it's her husband. She is the father of her child. And I think Renee Paquette, when is my husband going to quit, she says. Paquette, I don't blame you, girl. I feel you. If it was a family member of mine in the ring, I would ask them when they're going to quit, Anyways, this matchup had everything. Darby Allin, you have tasers, you had skewers, you had tables, you had chairs, you had lighter fluids. I don't know what Darby Allin, squirting everybody with lighter fluids and everything else. Pepper spray was involved when the Death Riders tried to get involved. And Jon Moxley was ready to finish off Darby Allin, choking him out and all that, until the lights went out. And when the lights went out, I'm thinking, okay, what does Jon Moxley have up his sleeve this time? But when the lights went back on, it's an old, great, gray and bearded and goateed. He had a little goatee going on. Sting made his arrival. And then he grabs Jon Moxley, attacks him, and then all of a sudden Death Riders try to come in. Sting fights him off. And Sting walks away from the ring. Marina Shafir got his face. Sting grabs Marina Shafir, carries her to the back. They also had a fish tank in the middle of the ring. A fish tank. And he was trying to drown Darby Allin. I'm like, are you freaking seriously kidding me? How are you going to make him say, I quit, when you're trying to drown the guy? And then when Sting fought off all the Death Riders, smashed up the fish tank, or the aquarium, and then Sting hands the bat to Darby Allin and carries Marie Shafir away, like I said. And then the Scorpion Deathlock. Darby Allin slapped it on. Jon Moxley said, I quit. And Darby Allin wins the matchup. So, I predicted he would win the matchup. But the only two matches I got wrong was Tekla and Jamie Hayter. I picked Tekla to win, but Jamie Hayter won the matchup. While the women's title match, Statlander versus Toni Storm, I picked Toni Storm to retain, to get the title back for a fifth time, and as Chris Statlander ends up retaining her championship. So, and I'm thinking that Toni Storm and Shirakawa, since losing their belts, they can enter the women's tag team title tournament, and I am predicting that those two ladies may end up walking away with the belts. So, we shall soon see when that is going to happen. There we go. That is all the time that we have on this episode of the show. Holy mackerel, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I have yet to take a shower. That's it for today's episode of the show. Later on, since it's already Sunday morning, later on, though, in the afternoon, 1 o'clock on the Network 3000 channel, I will be live reacting to the Patriots as they face Mike Vrabel's former team that he coached, the Tennessee Titans, who are at 1-5. Remember, I don't underestimate any team that is like 1-5 and all that, because any given Sunday they can beat you. And not only that, the Patriots are in first place at 4-2. We shall see tomorrow. And then, with the Dodgers now advancing to the World Series, they await the winner of the Seattle-Toronto matchup, as Game 6 is tomorrow. If the Mariners win that, they'll face the Dodgers. Or if the Toronto wins, it will go to a Game 7. We'll find out what's the deal with that. So I will see you guys later. You guys have a wonderful, blessed day. Until next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, take us home. That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production, and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.